when you exit your business, people think selling it. No, we're not talking about, because right now your business may not be ready to sell. When we talk about exiting, we're talking about removing just some of the things that you do to free up your free time and give you back. There's an old saying, we have an exit factor. I hope I say it right. We're going to help business owners work on their business and not work in their business.
Started from the hustle, now we playing it smart. Put the system in position, took the grind out the heart. Got the team on a vision, every role playing part. Ain't no job, it's a business, that's the real boss art. We the 2Exit Podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Freedom to Exit. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell, former NBA coach and NBA player. I'm here in a new environment, a business environment. This podcast here today is to help educate and help our viewers understand the integral part of business, that exit strategy. Here joining me today, my consultants, Floyd Williams, who's a business owner who is a consultant here with our new business, Exit Factor. Also our president next to Floyd, Josiah Wiley, president of the company, Exit Factor North. A new consultant with us, Nadia Adelaide. She's going to be joining us soon. And last but not least, Maurice Grant, one of our consultants. Josiah, this is a new business. This is a new concept coming to Atlanta. Explain to our viewers and listeners out there, what is Exit Factor and what do we do?
Absolutely, Coach. So Exit Factor is a company that helps business owners. And, taking into consideration that 80% of businesses, they just don't ever sell. Why don't they sell? Because when it comes time to, move on from the business as an owner, typically 80% of those businesses out there, they just close their doors. They don't sell, they don't transact, they just shut everything down and they walk away. Only 20% of businesses that are out there actually have a plan pulled together, a plan to take that business, turn it into something tangible of value, and then position it in a way to go out there and sell that business and make a profit off that sale. So what Exit Factor does is it brings together the strategy, of how to take that business that you own, get it ready, position it to sale, and get the highest obtainable value as possible. When working with Exit Factor, you see owners get double their free time, right? We also see on average a 60% increase in value when partnering with us to position that exit plan than they would have if they sold it themselves, right? So Exit Factor is a company that helps establish what that exit plan is, and then also positions the business at the highest value possible when you go to make that transaction. We are all trusted advisors. We've been in the industry for a long time in various aspects. And just real briefly, Floyd Williams, you spent a long time at the SBA. How many years were you there, Floyd?
I was 4 years as an SBA business coach for the whole state of Georgia.
So the state of Georgia, business coach for the state of Georgia. We've got Maurice Grant over here. Maurice, share with us a little bit about, your experience.
I took a lot of failures, aka lessons, and now I just want to stop other people enduring the same failures and lessons that I endured in this entrepreneurial journey to actually build something that's viable, scalable, and sellable for the future.
There you go. And we have Nadia Adelaide on our team. Did I say that right?
Close.
Close.
I'm glad it wasn't me. Hey, I'm glad it wasn't me, the basketball player.
Nadia, tell us a little bit about yourself and your expertise.
Yeah, so I'm an actor, business owner, former business owner as well, but I am my own business, so current business owner also. And I just understand the importance of making sure that your business is thriving and you're thriving as well in that business. So, yeah.
Coach, we have over 55 years of experience in this room of managing businesses from small to large, from small to large corporations to mid-sized businesses, from our own experiences that we can leverage along with the Exit Factor program to help position your business in the best possible position that you can when you go to make that exit.
Now, most of you guys know me as a professional NBA player and a coach, but what you don't know about me was that for 20 plus years, I was a business owner. While I was running up and down that basketball court and walking up and down that sideline, I also owned health clubs. And it got as many as 7 health clubs. So that was my passion. Basketball was my job, but my passion has always been business. Now, I'm not saying I was as good in business as I was in basketball, but that was my business. And guys, I want to segue to something. We're talking about business, and we all know a lot of business owners. And we hear this all the time with our owners, and we're listening to them. They're tired, man. They're frustrated. They're burned out, even depressed.
Yes.
What does that look like, first, Floyd? And then what causes those things for these business owners to get into that cycle and get on that treadmill where they can't get off?
Yeah. Well, we've all heard the term work-life balance. I laugh almost when I hear that.
Is there such thing, really?
When it comes to business owners, work-life balance. Now, there's no such thing as work-life balance as a business owner, especially at the beginning, because you don't, as a business owner, you don't work 40 hours a week. I know I don't. I work 40 hours plus. I work on the weekends, and I work probably 7 days a week in some iteration. But so now we're talking about not work-life balance these days. When I'm coaching clients, I'm talking about work-life integration. How do you integrate your life into your business? That might be like I work from 8 hours or maybe 6 hours, and then I stop and I go to my son's school and I participate in some of his school activities, and then I go back to work. Right? I take my family to dinner at 6 or 7. Then I come back home and I finish up for the day at about 7, 8, 9 o'clock. That's what integration is. And that's what most people are doing. Most business owners are learning how to do, integrate. Now, you talk about fatigue. The difference between fatigue and burnout is that when you talk about fatigue, it is that you're working in areas where it's taking a lot of your energy. We call it energy drain, right? And so what we got to do is we got to manage not just our time, but we got to manage energy too, right? And so a lot of business owners don't know how to do that. When you stay stressed out, now stress is part of business. That gives you that those endorphins to get up and do things. That stress, there's a certain amount of stress that you have to have as a business owner, because stress forces you to go out and do. But when you have too much stress and have too long of that stress process happening, it becomes fatigue, right? So we've got to have time. And I tell my clients, we have time to work hard, go hard, but then have some time to decompress. And decompress is about having some space and air between the things that you have to get done. It's important because we only have so much capacity. And sometimes when we go beyond the capacity and we stay there at that level, it's like we've got 100% capacity, Maurice. But when we're working at that capacity level at 100 plus for a long time, it goes beyond fatigue and it goes into burnout. And then burnout, if we stay on that level of burnout for a long period of time, that turns into depression. And when depression happens, our cognitive ability is diminished. We can't think. We make bad decisions, right? Because we're stressed out. We didn't get any sleep. We've got too many things we're doing. We're wearing too many hats. And now we can't think properly. We make bad decisions.
Maurice, I want to ask you something. When you look at...
Okay. God needed a day of rest.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes,
I like that. That's probably the seventh day. God rested.
We got to have it.
Everyone needs that rest. Everyone needs to take time to themselves to actually recalibrate what they're doing, what they're aiming towards, and what they're actually focusing on.
Yes.
The creator of our universe needed a day of rest.
Right.
I won't say needed. He took a day of rest for his reasons.
Good. Amen.
Maurice, I want to ask you this, man, to keep you down that road. Pass the collection plate, people. And also, we're gonna put a sign up. If you want to send in donations, earmark those donations to the coach. Sam Mitchell. The rest of my team, they don't need it, but send them to me. Amen. All right, Maurice, I want to keep you down that road. When you talk about the emotional aspect that a business can have on an owner, and you talk about that loss of passion, that disengagement from their business. How does that look like when you're in that day-to-day fight to keep your business profitable, to keep your business going in the right direction? How does that fight look like? And then what does that fight do to you over the course of time?
So we got 4 states of being. This came from one of my mentors. You got survival, you got thriving, you got status, and you got legacy. So majority of people operate out of a state of survival. How can I put food on the table? How can I make sure that I have a roof over my head? How can I make sure my family's good? When we operating out of survival mode, the capacity of what we can think is very limited just to that thing that's right in front of us. Like right now, if I hold this paper to my face, I can only see so far. But if I move it away, this is now not my focus and I can see everything around me. But with the closer it's up, it blocks my vision. When we're in survival mode, it's just the first thing that's in our face. How do I get money right now to feed my family? That's what majority of business owners are thinking about. Like they started a business for one reason, or mainly one reason is like, there's a problem out here that I can solve, or there's a pain that I need to solve right now that's suited for the market. Never really think about anything past that. Then they get to the point they scaled it, they grow it, they've been doing it for 20 plus years now, and it's still never went back to look at that foundation of what they started their company on. So survival, thriving is now your business is building without you. It's growing without you. It's at a state, this is people in general. Like you are at a state now where you're not solely focused on how can I put food on the table versus like, how can I make sure I'm enjoying life?
That gets back to that work-life
It
balance
does.
conversation
It
you
does.
were having just a few minutes ago,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
And Nadia, I want to ask you this. You're new to the consulting world in this space, but you also have a different perspective. You're a social media influencer. You're an actor. You're also a business owner. And what people don't understand, when you're a social media influencer, you actually have your own business. How does that look like on a day-to-day? Because you're wearing all these different hats. You're being all these different people. You got to be tired. I know I wake up in the morning tired. You got to be exhausted. I mean, how does that look like? And how does that make you feel knowing that when you go to bed at night, are you able to turn off that switch to where you can get the rest so tomorrow morning when you get up, you're fresh, you're new, and you have that energy to go out and conquer the day?
Yeah, Sam. So thank you for pointing that out. A lot of people actually don't realize that being a social media influencer or just, having a social media presence is in itself running a business. You are your business. It operates just as such. You have a schedule you must follow. You have deadlines that you create for yourself that you have to hit. You have, you work with financial things, back ends, front ends. It's so much that people don't think about, but they see the stardom, they see the notability, and they're like, oh, I want to do this. But do you have the tenacity to do what it takes to do this? So in that aspect of recognizing and walking into me being a business owner, I'm finding myself having to fill giant shoes because I there's goals that I want to hit for myself. So I'm having to just make sure that I make sure I hit these quotas and do the things that I need to do, because I have no one above me telling me, hey, Nadia, you need to create X amount of pieces of content for the week to hit this goal and make sure that your fans and your audience is staying engaged, all that things. Like, no, I have to drive and galvanize myself to do that.
So let me ask you this. So I was hearing, Floyd talk earlier about, work-life balance. And I heard a little, talked a little bit about stress, and Maurice, you talked a little bit about, the stress of putting like food on the table and all that stuff. So, when you're doing the social media and you're working on your branding and all that stuff, and you're focused on creating all that content all the time, I imagine there's a certain level of stress to that.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that out? How do you balance out that work-life stress?
That's the question on the table, right?
Yeah.
Is there a such thing as that work-life balance? And in my case right now, I'm working on my work-life balance because the internet is 24/7. You're always scrolling, you're always posting, you're always looking for your next big idea, you're always looking for your next piece of information or inspiration, excuse me. And there's a point in time where burnout is on the horizon because you can't separate from this device that's in your hand 24/7 almost, but it is important. My body tells me the importance all the time. It reminds me. My brain reminds me of the importance of making sure I have that separation. Like, no, at a certain time, you do need to put the phone down. You do need to put it on D&D or whatever I need to do to just make sure that I have a life outside of this.
Yeah.
And I think just any business owner in general would need to know what that looks like for themselves. But incorporating and making sure that you are aware and cognizant of your time away from this operation, this machine, it could save lives.
Yeah, we
you
always
know?
talk a lot of conversation around this, and one of the things as a solution to your point, Josiah, is that we have to convince business owners to understand the power of the core team. You guys heard me talk about this before. Surrounding yourself with others who can actually help facilitate some of the things that you have on your plate that keeps you up all night. I always ask my clients, "What keeps you up all night?" And they tell me. We talk about how can we unload some of those things to someone on your core team. How can we delegate, right? And I think that's really the power of Exit Factor. We help to be that core team.
Yeah.
We help to unload those things that keep you up all night,
Josiah,
so you can go sleep.
I want to ask you this. You often hear owners say, I'm depressed. You often hear them say, I'm tired. What does that look like? And then a lot of times when owners are depressed and tired, it's really hiding some deeper things in their mind and in their business that they just don't know how to deal with. So when you, as a business owner, as a person who's exited a company, as a person who's owns businesses, when you hear those key phrases, I'm depressed, I'm tired, what does it make you think about that person when it involves their business? When those emotional feelings are directly tied to their business?
Yeah, coach, listen, like, I don't know. I think a lot of business owners probably don't really acknowledge or know that they have entered into a depression.
Right.
I think that a lot of business owners find themselves tired. They'll wake up in the morning without energy. They dread getting in the car, going to the office, because sometimes they even feel trapped in their situation, right?
Yeah.
Which then leads to depression. And even though they don't know that they're depressed, they are, and they're just labeling as, hey, I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this. I'll give you an example. There was a time in my career where I was waking up every day, going to the same job every single day, going home, doing the same routine every single night, getting up the next morning, going back to the same job
You was on that
every
wheel.
single day. And it was so mundane that I ended up saying I was tired of this. But really what I was saying is I'm depressed.
Right.
And I need to find a way out, to deal with that depression, figure out a way to get out of that, mentality and refocus. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And so I think it also applies not just to business owners, but also the people that work for those business owners, right? They can
That's
get
kind
into
of
that.
trickles down.
It trickles down from the business
That
owner
wealth
to
may
the
not trickle
employee.
down.
Yeah.
The trickle down economics, but
Yeah.
let me tell you something. That depression would trickle down throughout your organization.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing
culture.
to really think about too is like, as a business owner, and Floyd, you brought it up a little bit earlier. I'll get up, I'll come to the office, I'll work all day long, really hard. I go home, and Floyd, you said you go to your kid activities, but guess what's happening during my kids' activities? I'm getting
on the
text
phone.
messages, I'm getting phone calls, I'm
right.
getting emails. So I'll stand in the back or the sideline, and I'm
right.
over there texting or emailing throughout the end of the day. Take them back home. Guess what's happening? Phone's still going off. The emails are still coming in. At one point, I just throw that phone down on the corner and say, I'm done for the day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's good
But then you
stuff.
get up the next day, and guess what?
Do it
You
all
go
over
through
again.
that same routine the very next day.
Yeah.
Right? And that leads to that, tiredness that actually turns into depression.
I think that's what exit factor coaching is about.
Yeah.
As strategists, we actually coach clients to understand where they are and why they're feeling what they're feeling. Because I have a saying that it's hard to see the picture when you're in the picture frame. So what we do is help you come out of the picture. We stand together and say, Isaiah, Josiah, what did you see as relates to your stress, the things that you're going to? Let's look at it together, because I can't see it when I'm in it, right? So that's the power of having a exit strategist working with you alongside of you, taking this journey together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the part of that is that you kind of end up isolated.
Oh yeah,
You end up
kind of.
because your employees can't be your friends.
Absolutely.
You can't confide in your
No.
employees,
No.
right?
No.
If you don't have anybody around
Lonely
you
place.
to be there with you, it's a very lonely place at the top, right?
Yeah.
And so what you're talking about is, Exit Factor provides an opportunity for that collaboration, to that decision making, to put that strategy in place and create some of that execution.
One of our clients said when I was presenting our offer, she said, "Oh, it's like having another partner." I said, "Yes,
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's like having
Yeah.
another business partner."
And guys, I think for me, I equate things back simple from a coaching standpoint. When I used to hear players or I hear coaches say I'm tired, the first thing comes to my mind, are they prepared? See, when you're tired, you're worried, you're stressed because you know you're not prepared.
Yeah.
When you're tired and you're stressed, you don't have a system in place, right? What we do, people, is we leave that. We have a system in place. We have strategies in place. We have things in place that's going to help you. And to Floyd's point, we're going to help take you out of that picture so you can look at your business from above. So you objectively. So you got to be able to take yourself out. And as a basketball coach and as a player, when I hear those key things, what it tells me that my team is not prepared. And when you're not prepared, that's when you're stressed. That's what, as a coach, if I ever went into a game and I didn't have a solid game plan, and that game started, and this team started doing things to me, and the players during that timeout, the first thing they come, and as a coach, normally when players, if the game is going good and they're playing well, they come over, you can't shut them up. But when they come over and all 5, 10 eyes are looking at you with that question mark, that tells me, now I'm stressed because that plan that I gave them, it ain't working. And they're looking for me to give them something, to give them a plan. And so that's why exit factor is so important, because we're not going to put our own in position to where his employees or her employees going to be looking at them saying, what's next? What are we going to do now? What's our plan? How do we implement? If you don't give your employees a plan to execute, not weekly, monthly, day to day, they should know what they should be doing at all times. And if they don't know, you have not created the right culture. You as a coach, you as a business owner has not created the right environment. You don't have the right structure in place. So talk about that structure, Josiah. Talk about why it's so important to have these certain systems in place to elevate, to take away that stress, and to take away that burden that's on your shoulders that's too heavy to carry sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And not having those strategies and not having those systems in place, like you're talking about, coaches, they just leads to chaos, right? Everybody's going their own independent way. It leaves employees in a situation where they are making decisions for themselves. And they're maybe all be going different directions, right? So having that strategy in place that you can then put together in an execution plan of, hey, this is what our strategy is, and this is how we're going to go and execute that plan, right? It's the same thing as when you're going into that basketball game, right? With that plan of, hey, this is how we're going to go attack this team. This is how we're going to go try to make those points, get those baskets, right? Otherwise, if you don't have that plan when you go into that game, you're going to get beat. Right? It's the same thing.
Guys, there's an old saying in basketball as a coach. When you start listening to the fans, as a coach, guys, I get in a taxi. The cab driver Uber driver got stuff to tell me. Coach, you should have done this. You should have done that. When I'm out and about at dinner, the waiter, Coach, why didn't you do this? Everywhere I go, I get recommendations of why I shouldn't do things. And we have an old saying as coaches. When you start listening to the fans, at some point, you're going to be sitting up there with them. As a business owner, when your employees start knocking on your door, giving you solutions and giving you a plan, you're going to go from being a business owner to an employee. And I don't think that's what you want to do. And that's what we do at Exit Factor. We help our business owners not to go down that road. We the culture, the plan, the strategy, having a plan in place that you execute every single day of your business. That's what's going to alleviate a lot of that pain and a lot of that stress and a lot of that uncertainty. As a coach, when I go into a game, I know three things. We're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to do them well because we're going to practice those things. It's going to be become a part of us. And more importantly, it's going to become who we are. Look, we got to take a break right now. We got to pay some bills, and this segment is sponsored by Josiah.
Exit Factor Atlanta North.
We're going to take a break. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. You're listening to Freedom to Exit. We'll be right back.
Exit Factor is a business that helps increase the time, efficiency, profit, and ultimately the exit value of businesses for entrepreneurs and small business owners. So it's relatively unknown, but most businesses don't sell. So when we look at the whole landscape of all businesses across the United States, less than 20% of those will sell. The rest of them will end up closing. And if you think about not that just the impact that that has on the owner, obviously, yes, they've put so much time, energy, and money into these businesses and they get nothing out at the end. But take it a step further and you think about all the people that work for them and the jobs that are lost and all the customers that are working with them and vendors that are working with them and the impact on their lives. And what usually ends up happening when a small business closes in a local economy, the business gets absorbed by a large conglomerate, national or global company. And so then you have this impact on the local economy too that's not benefiting it. So why I'm passionate about this is it's about business owners. It's about getting business owners more money, but it's also about really promoting small business in our economy, both on a macro and a micro level.
Welcome back to Freedom to Exit. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell, also one of the consultants of Exit Factor North here in Atlanta, Georgia. Nadia, before we went to break, we was talking about stress. We was talking about business owners being tired. You're in a unique, as well as a consultant for Exit Factor, you boots on the ground. You're in that social media world. You're in that world where you're talking to these owners each and every day. What's the feel you get from them when you're talking to them about their business and about their struggles and about the things that Floyd say that keeps them up at night?
Yeah, boots on the ground. I like that sound.
Well, high heels on the ground, okay?
Yeah, no, I do both. I interchange. No, but yeah, to your question earlier, basically in layman terms, what does tiredness look like? What does burnout look like in my own life and the business owners that I come across? And I agree, it looks like absentness, as Josiah was saying about just not being there for your family. It looks like belittlement sometimes, where you're trickling down that depression down the pipeline to your business, to your employees, and to your subordinates. But it also can just plainly look like mistakes. If you don't have that adequate rest and reset, that tiredness that burns you out can just look like just plain as day mistakes that could be avoided. Especially if you don't have a plain in practice program or practice put in place, and I can speak from experience how, for me, if I'm just overworked and feeling tired, as just posting, as simple as that, I may make mistakes that I wouldn't have made if I had the adequate rest, so just think about that in when you're in the grand scheme of things, just making sure that you are taking care of yourself in the process of running your business, just the simple mistakes that could be avoided by just taking care of your mental, of your physical, making sure you have that partner, that business partner. That I like that analogy that Floyd's client mentioned about, like it's like adding on another business partner, just alleviating some of that stress off of you can combat just the simplest of mistakes. And I know that firsthand. Just
guys,
simple things.
One thing I learned in basketball: if you take care of the little things, then the big things are not as big. Floyd, I want to talk to you about this. When we talk about exit strategy, we talk about stress. We talk about that fear. We talk about what keeps you up at night. Talk about exit planning as a way out of all those things. Exit planning from a standpoint to uplift you, to re-energize you. What are some of the things that we do at Exit Factor to kind of give those business owners back their life?
Yeah, when we talk about that exit planning, it starts with this, this evaluation. We need to know where you are. If we know where you are, then we can help you get to where you want to go, right? So we have to really look at, where you are today. We do why we do that's why we do exit value exit assessment, and then we want to look at that assessment. And when we look at that assessment, we look at not just one area of your business, but we're looking at a lot of areas of your business. We're looking at 72 business
What?
plans.
Oh, 70 what?
Oh, 72.
Now, hold on, Floyd. I played basketball. I had one coach who had 82 plays.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, that sounds daunting, but it's really not as daunting as you think when you hear 72.
No, we're doing that work. We're looking at 72 points of business valuation, right? Determine if your business is what you think it's worth. When we do that, we're looking at it so closely that we're finding little nuances of deficiencies. We're going to try to remove those. Not try. We're going to help you remove those deficiencies, those things that are keeping you from scaling, keeping you from being as profitable as you could be. And we want to remove those so we can actually increase your valuation, maybe twice the amount that you thought it was, or even 3-4 times, and multiples of who knows. Because that's really what we're looking for. We want to look at your business, and we want to impact that business and look at all the business verticals. Because I always say we want to move points of constraint. I always use the example like, if I was going to, wash my car, and I went and got the hose to wash the car, and I turned my water on, turned the spigot on, and I pushed the nozzle, and nothing came out.
You're going to have to do the car.
And I would say, what is going on? But if I look back, there would be knots in the hose, right? So if I can find those places of constraint, remove them, then the water will flow. Same thing with business. It's not rocket science, but we do it better than anyone. When we find those points of constraint,
Business science.
open the nozzle so your business can flow and scale the way it's supposed to scale.
Josiah, I want you to talk about this. When you look at a business and you look at the positioning of a business, the structuring, how do you position and structure a business to market to buyers? That's that key. You got this business, so how do you make sure you have the structure? How do you make sure you have the positioning to now go out and market this business to buyers?
Yeah, absolutely, Coach. And the answer is pretty
I
straightforward.
like when y'all call me coach. It puts me back in my element, even though I'm in a different space right now in the business world. When you start calling me coach, I start getting athletic.
Business coach now.
Yeah, I like that, Maurice. Now I'm gonna take you off my hit list. I'm not gonna dump on you. I hate to interrupt you. Go ahead on your side.
No, it's all good, Coach. So the deal is, when you're getting ready to sell your business, it's about building a sellable business, right?
Yeah.
So how do you build that business into a sellable business? And back to, Floyd's point earlier about, the 72 points of analysis that takes a look at your business and says, hey, these are the things here and there that if you just fine tune up, you have that with that business science, as Nadia said earlier, you'll have the water flowing through that hose faster and stronger, right? And when you go to sell your business, a buyer is looking at those same kinds of things. And if they see something within one of those 72 areas of analysis that doesn't quite line up to what they would expect, their deal is going to be less, right?
Sure.
So the money that they're going to offer to buy that company is going to be less because they're going to see some of those deficiencies in that business. So
That's right.
Building up that sellable business and having that plan and getting that thing cleaned up and ready to go so that water goes all the way through the hose.
That's right.
That gets you that increase in value to sell that business at the highest value you possibly can get.
Maurice, I want to ask you this, man. When you start talking about building systems, why is it important to build a system to reduce the owner dependency on that so that business is not so just dependent on that one owner? Talk to our listeners out there about why it's so important to scale your business and build your business so that even though that's your baby, even though that's your brainchild, that it's not solely dependent on you.
It goes back to the name of our podcast, honestly. Freedom to exit. Like giving you back the freedom to enjoy your life, to have a life that's worth living versus just living to make a life. Like majority of business owners, they're in this golden handcuffs. Like they built something fabulous. They spent 20 years building this fabulous business, but then they can't leave if they wanted to. They can't take a vacation. They can't go to a soccer game without their phone blowing up. They can't experience life for what it's really meant to be, and that's to enjoy it and to actually love living life. So the system is to get all the information out of your head so that way now you can enjoy life. You can go on vacation. You could take a cruise for a month and literally live life and experience it for what it's supposed to be. You can go to your soccer game. You can go to the ballet rehearsal. You can go to the basketball game and not have to worry about this device right here. It's like, oh, damn, so-and-so. Like, you can really live life once you have a system in your business that others can actually implement for you.
Floyd, how does, as a business owner, when you help them create a baseline evaluation, how does that help a business owner see the big picture? How does that open up their eyes when you sit down with them and you show them that baseline, how you do things? What does that do for a business owner?
Yeah, that's a great question. I laugh at that because most people think their business is worth so much more than it really is because they haven't really done a great evaluation. I laugh, guys, because you all probably have done what I do. I'm an avid watcher of Shark Tank, and it's funny how people come and they ask him what they're looking for. I'm looking for 2% of my business for $500,000. And I look, and I'm just sitting there with my calculator when they do that, and I'm like, what in the blank are they thinking about that they think they're going to get that kind of money for a business like this? So it's the great it's about awareness, I believe, when you talk about what we do at first glance of your business. Let's let you know what reality really looks like as far as your business. Your baby, everybody think their baby's pretty. I talked about that.
Floyd, my mother told me this a long time ago. I used to say, Mama, that baby ain't that cute. My mama, you smack me in the back. Boy, don't you ever talk about nobody, baby, because you're going to have some one day. All babies are beautiful.
Because we have these 72.
And then Josiah, he going to put his hand on you. And you got 4 babies, man. No fighting words for it.
But here's the thing. Because we have the 72 checkpoints analysis, proprietary analysis of your business. If the data says your baby is ugly, it's probably ugly.
From a business standpoint.
From a business standpoint.
But
for the baby, though,
so I think
for the baby though, you got
listen, no babies. But that's what it is, Sam. It's really giving people a place, a baseline to really start at reality of where they are and help them get to where we potentially know they can go, right? And that's the delta that we're working with.
Josiah, I want to ask you this because you've been in this space, you've exited from businesses, you've helped business owners exit it. What is that feeling? What is that thought process is? And what does it necessarily look like? Because when you exit your business, people think selling it. No, we're not talking about, because right now your business may not be ready to sell. When we talk about exiting, we're talking about removing just some of the things that you do to make to free up your free time and give you back life. There's an old saying we have an exit factor. I hope I say it right. We're going to help business owners work on their business and not work in their business.
Absolutely.
How does that look like? And when you sit down with an owner and you help them rediscover these things, what does life look like for those owners? Now, you've been there. You've been one of those owners.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, listen, like there are so many different strategies when you go to sell your business and what that looks like. One of the strategies is when you go to sell, you might actually become a rollover equity shareholder in the new company that's being acquired. So even though you're selling your business, you may make 60% cash value of the business up front, right?
Which could be more.
Right.
The 60% could be more than what you originally thought your business was worth. That's what business owners understand. Yeah.
Right. Exactly right. And so taking that 60% of cash value, what it's worth, and then having 40% rollover and rollover equity. Now you're no longer the primary owner of the business. You might be a minority shareholder of the new organization that's put together, and you might be retained on the company for another 2 or 3 years, or even just 12 months to be there as an advisor to guide the new owners of where to go. And then eventually, once that time expires, they'll cash out the remainder of that 40%, right? There's other ways that you can go at it where you get paid, a specific percentage of the value now, and then you stay on for a couple more years, and then they establish earnouts, right? Where, hey, the company is valued right now today at this amount. If over the next 2 or 3 years you help us grow the business here, we'll pay you additional money and give earnouts over time over the next couple of years. So there's a couple of different ways that you can really go at that.
Now, I want to ask you this. You're listening to all these old heads, not me. Me and Maurice, we're young. These two old heads with all this business acumen that they have. But when you listen to alleviating stress, when you listen to Josiah, Maurice, Floyd, and myself, we talk about taking these things off a business owner plate. And you're in that world. I love your business because it's a lot of freedom in it.
Yes.
And what does that look like now? How does a business owner, how would you feel if you could take all this stress off your plate to now where you working on your business and you're looking at it from a different point of view? How would you imagine that making a business owner feel when you alleviate this stress and all those worries?
I imagine it feeling like a job well done. Like I set out, I achieved what I set out to do, essentially. Everyone's goal, I would think, when creating a business is to see it succeed, to see it flourish, and having experts like yourselves and, that can come and help people gain that. That's where you find that perfect pocket that you want to be in, I think. The exit factor, having that team. I can't stress enough how important a viable team is to any organization, any business, even social media, and acting. You need a manager, you need a team. So having people to delegate responsibilities to can help alleviate a lot of stress for you, minimize a lot of mistakes, maximize a lot of lucrative endeavors. All of that. It's just a bunch of pros. So yeah, it's just really about finding that perfect pocket of where you want your business to go, and keep driving it in that direction. I think.
And Floyd, I want to ask you this: we talk about alleviating stress. What does this do for owners, their emotional health, their physical health? When you as a exit factor consultant, as a business coach, when you go into a business and you help them gain clarity and direction, what does that do for that owner? And then how does that make you look in that owner's eyes?
Yeah, well, you said it. When we talk about removing these points and constraints, it really helps holistically for a business person to really have a life. You talked about that. We just don't want to have success in business. We want to have quality of life, right? And that's why I think for most of us, that's why we got in business, to get to a place where we can have freedom and have quality of life to do the things that are most important. So I think that's what we give them. We give them that opportunity to have their life back, to have life and experience life in a different level than what they would have experienced if we didn't impact them. Because if we don't, most people are, a lot of business owners are fatigued. A lot of them are burned out. Some of them are depressed and don't even know it. So we give people their life back in some sense, quality of life.
Man, I love that. Guys, we're going to take one more break before we hit our closing segment. And that closing segment, I want my consultants to think about this. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, but I want to give you some time as we go into this commercial break. That's paid for by Exit Factor North, our president. He's wearing a lot of hats right now. We got to stop Josiah from paying for all this. So we're looking for some sponsors out there, right? Josiah got too many hats on. He's the president. He's also paying for all this. So we need some sponsors out there. If you want to be a sponsor for the show, Freedom to Exit, again, we're going to give you some information how to reach us. But we're going to take a break. But I want you guys to think about your call to action. What's your call to action to these business owners? All right, we're going to take one more break. We'll be back. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. Freedom to Exit. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Exit Factor is a business that helps increase the time, efficiency, profit, and ultimately the exit value of businesses for entrepreneurs and small business owners. So it's relatively unknown, but most businesses don't sell. So when we look at the whole landscape of all businesses across the United States, less than 20% of those will sell. The rest of them will end up closing. And if you think about not that just the impact that that has on the owner, obviously, yes, they've put so much time, energy, and money into these businesses and they get nothing out at the end. But take it a step further and you think about all the people that work for them and the jobs that are lost and all the customers that are working with them and vendors that are working with them and the impact on their lives. And what usually ends up happening when a small business closes in a local economy, the business gets absorbed by a large conglomerate, national or global company. And so then you have this impact on the local economy too that's not benefiting it. So why I'm passionate about this is it's about business owners. It's about getting business owners more money, but it's also about really promoting small business in our economy, both on a macro and a micro level.
Welcome back to Freedom to Exit. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell, also a consultant with Exit Factor North. Guys, now I gave you some homework to think about during the break. Your call to action. Now I want to direct this question to our two millenniums, the two young 30-year-olds in the room, which I'm hating on right now because of y'all age, and I just had a birthday, and I'm not going to tell anybody. Don't nobody ask me how old I am. I still look good. That's all that matters, and I can wear my clothes. Right. Nadia, you're in that space, in that social media world.
Yeah.
And Maurice, you're in that tech space, tech savvy. You know all those things. I want to start with you ladies first. What have you learned, and what do you think your mind, your thought process is going to be a little bit different sitting at the table with guys like Josiah, Floyd, Maurice, myself, all this knowledge and all this wealth of knowledge? What have you learned, and how do you think you can apply this and pass this information on to the people your age?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the perspective of the millennials, I feel like you can be young, you can be a young business owner, but you don't have to use your age or your lack of experience as a reason to succumb to mistakes. You can get ahead of it. You can be, well read, well researched. You can seek options, and an option like the exit factor is something that I didn't know existed, prior to a couple days ago. So just having that information can keep you ahead, can, mitigate a lot of mistakes and all the things I mentioned earlier. So all in all, I feel like just going out there, doing your due diligence, no matter your age, no matter your tax bracket, if you're a business owner and you care about your business and you want to see the success of it, there are options in many facets to make sure that business sees the success and that you as the person in that business can thrive in it and after it. So.
Maurice, you in that tech world, my technical knowledge goes as far as turning on the power button on my computer. and the thing that I'm excited about, I know now you just open it and say whatever, all right? But you're in that space, and how do you, as a young 30-year-old entrepreneur, as a consultant for the Exit Factor, how do we take all this technology and help our business owners embrace this? Because what people don't understand, most of our business owners out there, they're in my age, in my space. They're 50 or above, and they're ready to exit their business. They just don't know how. And now they don't know how to use all these tools at their disposal, how to make not only their business stronger and more profitable, but when that time comes to exit, how to use all this technology to exit properly.
The best way to answer that, anyone that's going through that, just call us. Like, plain and simple, just call us, because the stress that you're going to go through to figure it all out by yourself, it's insane. But yeah, in this world that we're currently living in right now, we're moving to a digital age. Like, everything is becoming digital. Everything. Like, whatever you had in physical reality, they're moving to some type of way to make it digital. American Express just announced that for points, for frequent flyers, you're now getting NFTs for to replace your points, to actually track how much, and you can make that into an actual currency. Like how the economy is going, the next 10 years are going to look completely different than what we actually know right now.
What is an NFT, by the way? You guys know what an NFT is?
Well, I hear all these acronyms, man, but you know, that's the one thing I got mad at when I go to these conferences. Everybody like these little cute terms, but they don't ever tell people what these little cute terms. And I want to tell you something as a coach. I used to say this all the time. There's no such thing as a dumb question, because that question that you think is dumb, half your players don't even know. All right, so what is, and Josiah, thank you for asking, because I'm sitting here with my basketball mind. What the hell is he talking about?
What's an NFT, Maurice?
In layman's terms, the NFT is like a... Did y'all used to collect things as a kid? Like I used to collect Pokemon cards. Yeah. So an NFT is like digital collectibles that you can have. But now that collectible has its own receipt that's only unique to that item. So people are now selling houses with NFTs attached to it, because now you can track that actual digital receipt regardless. Title companies are changing how they do deals, because now everything is actually trackable. Before, you had titles where you got to go through titles insurance, you got to do all these things. So now, with the way that we're occurring, the actual terminology for NFT is non-fungible token. So, yeah, non-fungible token. So no one can kind of like say, oh, this is mine. There was a house that I came from real estate, so there's a house I purchased where I really had a fight, not physically fight, but mentally fight or verbally fight with the daughter of the property, who said that she owned the house because such and such reason. I'm like, I purchased it. Here's the title, here's the insurance, here's everything else. We had to go to court for this whole house because there was a discrepancy around who actually owned the property when I purchased it. Was it her or was it the actual mom? So that's layman's terms of NFT. It's a digital version to give you a actual receipt of every single thing that's happening.
So it's kind of like a digital title. Is that what you're saying?
In a way, yeah.
It really is. Yeah, it's like on the blockchain.
Just past title, everything. So anything can have a NFT attached to it.
And Josiah, I want to ask you, last but not least, as we close out this show today, when you talk about your call to action, you as president of Exit Factor North have built this business. What's your call to action when you talk to these business owners out there? What do they need to understand?
Absolutely, Coach. And listen, like, my call to action is this. Would you rather sell your business today for $250,000, or would you rather sell it for $1.5 million? Would you like to take that $500,000 business and sell it for 1.2? Whatever that difference in value is, it's a lot better to sell your business for more, right, than for what it is today. And just simply by putting a plan together, and putting all that into a strategy with Exit Factor positions your business in a way to get that incremental growth in value, right? It reduces stress, it reduces anxieties, right? Because now you have an actionable plan to get there, and it alleviates being tired, right? It takes that tiredness away. And what does it do, Coach? It rejuvenates you. It gets you energy going again, because now you've got an actionable plan and you're ready to go. And once you're at that point, then when you're at that obtainable higher value that you've gone through that exit strategy, you've worked on those items of improvement, you've got that business ready to sell, then you can go right over to Transactage, which is our brokerage firm, to put that business in a position to then go transact at that higher value. And that's my call to action, is get in here, meet with us, put that action plan together with Exit Factor.
And guys, last but not least, I want you to understand something. Burnout in business is real. It reduces the value of your company, and it hampers you when it comes to exiting that business. Here at Exit Factor North here in Atlanta, let us help you. This is what we do. We have consultants. We got led by our president, Josiah. We can implement strategies to help alleviate that pressure, alleviate that stress, give you your life back. And in doing that, you're going to see 25 to 50% increase in the value of your bottom line. You're going to see the value of your company grow. And then last but not least, when that time comes for you to exit that business, you're going to be able to exit your business where you put your blood, sweat, and tears into, where you put years into this business, you're going to be able to exit that business the proper way. And that's what we do here at Exit Factor. For more information about who we are and what we do, go to exitfactor.com. Make sure you understand that we're the North, Exit Factor North in Atlanta. Guys, to my consultants, to my friends, to my business partners, thank you for being a part of Freedom to Exit. This is going to be a weekly segment, ladies and gentlemen. So tune in weekly. We're going to be streaming this, and we're here to provide information, but we're here also to provide solutions to your problems. And remember, you are going to exit that business. The question is how you're going to exit. Thank you for joining Freedom to Exit. I'm your host, Sam Mitchell. We'll be back with you next week with more advice and more tidbits on how to exit your business properly. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.